Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Matthias the Corgi, and this is another episode of An Unforgettable Moment, the series where we talk about situations in gaming that are, well, unforgettable. Now today's episode is a little bit different from the last two, because the phenomena that we're talking about this time is an entire game itself, and how it dominated the gaming industry for a bit. YouTube, Twitch, memes, everything. Now the topic of today's video is the indie game Among Us. Now I know that many people might think, well, this is fairly recent and should not be considered unforgettable. But you gotta remember, we talk about everything that is unforgettable on this channel. And due to its success, the game as a whole is unforgettable. Now, Among Us came out in 2018 and was developed by the indie studio Innersloth, who also made the Henry Stickmin collection. Now, personally, I prefer these games, or rather the collection as a whole, over Among Us, even if I was distracted most of the time whilst I was playing it. Now, originally upon release, Among Us didn't have as much popularity as it did later on 2 years later. Now the game's premise was simple, which is one of the reasons why it was so popular. You play as either a crewmate or an imposter. As a crewmate, you did tasks and try to locate and eject the imposter. Now you and the other crewmates didn't know who was the imposter, just that there can be one or more imposters on the map. As the imposter, your task was also simple. Eliminate crewmates and don't get caught. That's it. That was literally it. Now what made the game more engaging is the social aspect of the game. As a crew member, even though you were innocent, that didn't mean that you were safe from being ejected. The imposter could turn the tables and frame you. Or, your own team who wasn't paying attention could also have framed you and gotten you ejected. So the game quickly spiraled into an idea of, who can I trust? Putting you in a tough spot and having to doubt everyone. You would now have to use your wits to survive and deduce the imposter's identity. If the crewmates finished all the tasks or eliminated all imposters present on the map, they won. If the imposters eliminated enough crewmates either via direct means or ejecting them, the imposters would win. Among Us didn't really start this type of genre. This type of genre has actually been there for a while, ranging from video games to movies to board games. And this genre being social deduction. Now, for example, in regards to the video game section, there were already pre-existing titles. Town of Salem, Deceit, which was a game mode in Gmod, or TTT, which was also a game mode in Gmod. Now, for the movie genre, there are many to mention, but I think that the most iconic one, and also happens to be my favorite horror movie of all time, is The Thing. A movie from 1982 directed by John Carpenter. Now I'm going to pause reading the script. That movie is a masterpiece. And I'm not saying that because this is an Among Us video. I basically watched that movie religiously. But moving on. That movie was also an inspiration for Among Us, alongside a party game named Mafia, or Werewolf. It depends on who you were playing it with. So much so that the second map, Polis, is based on Outpost 31 from The Thing. Now, there is also a sequel to The Thing, but I don't like that one as much, so I'm really not going to cover it. However, hats off to the director of that movie for having continuity. I appreciate that as a movie watcher. Now, in terms of board games, there are more. For example, The Resistance and Deception. Both great games, by the way. Cheap, too. Whilst growing up, I actually consumed a lot of content regarding this genre. As mentioned earlier, I really love The Thing. And I would watch Markiplier and PewDiePie playing TTT. I could not stop laughing when I watched many of those videos, especially the one with Markiplier and Captain Sparkles. I just could not stop laughing. My mom actually had to come into my room and tell me to keep it down. And for example, I even bought The Resistance to play with my coworkers on our downtime when we were at work. With all of this on a table, there's actually two more reasons why this game became so popular. The first is that the game came out peak quarantine. Everybody was indoors and did not have much social interaction. During that time, gaming as a whole exploded even more because people wanted to pass the time. And gaming, through either online or single player, provided that. Add the fact that Among Us was a social game where you have to interact to play it properly. And now you have something that takes a demand, fulfills it, and is easily accessible to the public for a fair price. Basically Business 101, strategic development, innovation, and sustainability all checked out because of the world's events at that time. The second reason were content creators. YouTube and Twitch, the two titans of gaming content. The continent. Oh, ignore the fact that he's upside down. The second reason were content creators. YouTube and Twitch, the two titans for gaming content, were filled to the brim with Among Us videos or Among Us content. It's incredible because a lot of careers were formed or boosted because of that game. Now, this wasn't the first time that this happened. Fortnite and Five Nights at Freddy's had a similar effect, but those are things that we'll talk about later. Possibly in their own video. Content creators and normal players had a lot to work with because of the simplicity of the core mechanics and also because of one of the huge factors that really affected the quality of the game. The people. When you watched a video, it was usually someone making 1000 IQ deductions to locate the imposter. Or basically what developed into a shouting match. It was fun because you were amazed watching the smart plays and observations. Or you were facepalming / shouting at the screen after someone got away with something scot-free, and because of either a herd mentality or simply because they were not paying attention to detail, they messed up. Or you were laughing at people arguing. As a regular player, you also dealt with the same thing, either with friends or randoms, which eventually ended up in the same way most of the time, with usually red, primarily, or another color of a crewmate being voted off because sus. Playing with friends was better because you knew them, and you can make fun of someone for messing up. Or you could just end up yelling at everyone that I told you so. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like playing Among Us. Yes, it has every aspect of a lot of things that I like. And I know that a lot of people do like it, which I respect. But Among Us is a game I would rather watch than ever play. I played a couple of games with a friend who used to stream a long time ago. And again, it would start off well and end in whoever is loudest is right. Thus, after a while, it was pretty frustrating and awkward for the rest of us. We were, I guess, like 8 people who were playing. And some of those friends that I talked to at the time told me that they just didn't want to play anymore because no one wanted to listen to you unless you were screaming louder than the 2 people who were screaming all the time. I only played like 3 to 4 games seriously before I just started trolling. And I did that by stalking people as a crewmate and giving off imposter vibes when I was not the imposter. So basically I was just the 3rd imposter. I also tried playing some games to record for this video, and let me tell you, it took 3.5 hours to get like 40 minutes of footage to use for this video. The Steam version would crash and have high ping on all servers. Wait times were awful, man, and every game had a troll host. The Xbox version had the ping issue resolved, but would stutter, and would also take a long time to find a game. I was also not about to install the game on my phone, because no. I have 2 versions of the game already. I don't want to have to download a 3rd version, and I shouldn't even need to reach the point where I need to consider installing a 3rd version to play. All in all, still not a fan. I would rather play another run of Dark Souls with a broken sword than play Among Us again. Hide and seek was pretty fun though. It was pretty fun. I did have a blast. Despite my own feelings towards the game, it blew up and ended up with millions upon millions of copies sold. It ended up having more maps, more game modes, popular add-ons such as roles, a VR version, and multiple game modes created and named after it on other games. This is an example of a game that dunked on the AAA gaming companies, showing them that you don't need crazy mechanics, an incredible story, or incredible graphics in order to make a bestseller. And you definitely do not need a bunch of quadruple A nonsense
to keep your company afloat.
Now, before anyone says it's an isolated incident, there have been other examples that do this too, one of those being the incredible game that is Lethal Company. All in all, Among Us made sure to grab a seat in the Gaming Hall of Fame, step on the shoes of many AAA companies, and forever be an unforgettable moment. Thanks for watching this video. I wasn't kidding when I said it was a pain to get the footage, but anything for you guys. But anyways, I digress. I have a different model this time because I do play Nikke, I'm not gonna lie. And this model is taller. The other models were too short and were clipping through many of the through a lot of the furniture, and I really like this camera angle. I hope you like it too. You know? Anyways, if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to hear a really dumb corgi doing dumb things in video games or just rant on about other things, don't hesitate to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And if you have an unforgettable moment that you'd like to share, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to recommend. Thank you again for watching this video, and I hope you have a swell day. Cheers.